Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Chevrolet. Chevy certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Chevrolet.com/service to learn more.
Did my card go through?
Oh no.
Your small business depends on its internet, so switch to Verizon Business. And you can get LTE business internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data for unlimited business.
There we go.
Get the internet you need at the price you want. Verizon Business. Starting price for LTE business internet, 25 megabits per second unlimited data plan with select Verizon Business smartphone plan savings. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
This podcast is part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, a program designed to help all podcasts reach their full potential. For information about joining the Robots Radio Rocket Club, check out robotsradio.net.
Hello, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Austin, also known as Teacup.
And my name is Shelby, also known as She-Cup.
Join us as we embark on unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed universe. From assassins to Templars to the mysterious Isu and more. We will seek to uncover it all, so join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You might also know me as She-Cup, and I'm super excited to be here today. And I'm joined with my co-host.
I am Austin, also known as Teacup.
So what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the Instruments of the First Will, which is Juno's faction in the Assassin's Creed universe. So you could kind of call this episode a Juno Part 2, but branching out to her influence in the world.
Interesting. So when you just talk about Juno, it's interesting to me that she has followers today.
Yes, she does. And we'll get into kind of why she has followers a little bit. Not a lot, but we'll get into a lot of why she has followers to the present-ish time.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
All right, well, let's go. So just a little bit of an overview. The Instruments of the First Will are a secret polytheistic religious group that worships the Isu as deities. And so while not always leading the group, a sage, particularly an Isu sage of Aida, would have a prominent role in the organization. The Instruments would draw members and resources from both of the Assassins and the Templars. Their primary goal was to resurrect the Isu and allow them to rule the world. So that's just kind of their overview of who they are and what their goal is. And so for the next little bit, we're going to kind of just go into their history and their involvement in the universe. And then we will kind of talk about their beliefs a little bit at the end. So we're kind of getting into their history and involvement. And I will say that this majority of content comes from the comics. So if you have not read the comics and you want to read the comics, this might be a later episode that you come to. But a lot of what happens with the instruments of the first will happens in the comics. So this is your warning that if you don't want to be spoiled for those storylines, come back to this episode after you've read those comics.
And if you're a person like me who doesn't particularly care about comics, you can go ahead and listen.
Yeah. So like everything in the Assassin's Creed universe, the exact origins of the instruments is unknown.
Well,
however,
not everything. I mean, we know how the hidden ones got started.
That's true. That is very true.
But yeah, everything else.
Yes. So the exact origins are unknown. However, during Project Anthropos, it was understood that humanity would be created as instruments of the Isu's will. So this is probably where they get that kind of name from, of instruments of the first will. And we do know from our episode last week and from sources within the universe that Juno had begun gathering followers of her own even before the Great Catastrophe. So the real first notice of this outside group that we can kind of see that like they're an outside group that's different from the Assassins and Templars happens in about 2016 when former Templar Sebastian Moore noted that a secret cult was within the Templar organization. Sean Hastings theorized that there may be a connect between the instruments of the first will and the Order of Ancients. Sean put forth that the instruments are a more accurate successor to the Order of Ancients than the Templars are.
That's really interesting. I already see that connection, like from what little we've already talked about.
Right. And so, I mean, it's a fair point, and we'll talk about this. We'll save this for the beliefs section. But after Alfred, the Templars do not regard the Isu as like beings to be venerated or worshipped.
Right. And like this gets into what we were talking about either last episode or a couple episodes ago, where like they don't revere the Isu who held the titles of Father of Understanding, Sacred Voice, Mother of Wisdom. Like they have taken those titles for themselves. So it's almost like they've surpassed the Isu in their mind.
Correct. So that's all we kind of know about a little bit of their origins. So we know roughly the Order of Ancients ends around the 10th century CE. And so maybe the instruments of the first will offshoot are people who, when Alfred makes his decree about the Templars, say, we're not going to follow you because you're not believing what we believe, and they offshoot, and that's the start of the instruments of the first will. So like I was saying, they are maybe sometime around Alfred's decree is when the instruments of the first will actually start. However, it's going to be a long time before we as a player or we as someone who's engaged in the universe actually see mention of the instrument of the first will. And the first one we see is in World War I in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, a little anomaly in the Animus that Juno sends the initiate on to World War I from mid 19th century England. And so there was a nurse who was a member of the cult, and she was taking soldiers' blood in strange-looking cubes for an unknown purpose. Now, Shelby, you have not played Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So this is a tiny spoiler, but those of us who have would recognize this as strange-looking cubes that take blood as the cubes that are used for the observatory, which is a piece of Eden device that when when this little cube crystal is placed in and contains the blood of an individual, it can allow you to see the world through their eyes. So it's like an ultimate spy tool.
That's very interesting. That also, like, now that you say that, very much reminds me of the pensive from Harry Potter. That's the right word for it, right?
Yeah, similar effect, except in this, like, you're seeing real time. Whereas the pensive is memories. Pensive and animus are actually, now that you say that, the pensive and animus are pretty close in design. And so there was also a spy in the Tower of London who was announcing fanatic theories about the Assassin's Brotherhood. Lydia Fry, who is the grandchild of one of the Fry twins, I cannot remember off the top of my head. I believe it's Jacob Fry, but don't quote me on that, would end up assassinating both of these members of the instruments on the orders of Winston Churchill, who we know at some point is a Templar. This led to the master spy being rooted out. In the last fight, he kept screaming about his beloved, suggesting to us as the player that he is a sage of Aida, though that is not confirmed.
I'll be honest, that seems like a little bit of a stretch.
Not altogether. I am very much like giving a brief summary of the events of this particular memory. But in the memory, like the way he's screaming about it is similar to how we've seen other sages behave.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just have to wait till I get there, huh?
Wait till you get there. Yes. You'll just have to take my word for it. And then you can decide if it's a stretch or not when you get there.
I will keep you updated.
Yes. Which, a little off topic, but for those of you, because we have stopped doing this, she's in Assassin's Creed Revelation. So depending on how fast she gets through the other games, she might be in Syndicate soon.
I don't think I'll be in Syndicate soon. A Black Flag soon, yeah, because I'm almost done with Revelations and I'll be moving on to 3 probably here in the next week or less.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Black Flag will take a while, but I think you'll run through Unity and Syndicate pretty quickly.
Okay. I'll keep you updated.
All right. So around 2013, the instruments kind of go out of history. We don't really see them again in the timeline. John Standish, who we talked about last episode, who is an Isu sage, infiltrates Abstergo Entertainment. He spreads the instrument's manifesto through hidden QR codes that employees can scan that are on like sticky notes, which is interesting to me, but seems like a very like not sustainable way to distribute your manifesto. Like sticky note is pretty easily disposable.
Or lost.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. But so he spreads the manifesto via hidden QR codes. He convinces.
So I am confused. You said sticky notes, but it's actually QR codes.
It's QR codes on a sticky note.
Oh, so he printed them on a sticky note?
I
Did he
guess.
draw them on a sticky note? Because those are two different things.
Right. I mean, they're called sticky notes in the game when you go through and try to collect them. But I don't know if they're actually sticky notes. I'd have to go back into Assassin's Creed Black Flag and see. But so you'll tell us in a week.
Okay.
But he convinces the analyst, who is the modern day protagonist of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, to hack the servers and distribute Templar info to the assassins. Well, eventually Abstergo gets wind of this hacking and they decide to shut down, not really shut down the Subject 17 or Project 17, but they isolate the analysts into private rooms so that they can't move about. And eventually John Standish gets you out of your room and you have to hack into the servers. It is revealed that he's doing this so Juno can inhabit your body, and Juno doesn't because she's too weak to do that. We talked a little bit about that last week, but that's really what happens when they infiltrate Abstergo. And this is also where Juno instructs her children to construct her a body, her children or her instruments, referring to the instruments of the first will. And so that's really all before we start getting into like really seeing the instruments as a named group as the instruments of the first will. So this is probably a really good time to take our break and then come back in and finish out their history and then talk about their beliefs and call it a day.
Before we go to the break, I have a quick question. So you're saying like in what year they become a group?
Whether they become a group, I have no idea. But when we first see them as a named group, is after Black Flag.
Gotcha. In the Black Flag timeline, not the modern day timeline.
In the modern day timeline.
So like in 2013.
Yeah, sometime after that. I'm not real caught up on the comics of when they're actually introduced as the instruments of the first will, but
so
these are there.
This is a really new group then.
Potentially, but like we went through, they could go back all the way to It could go back all the way to Alfred. It goes back at least to 1916 because they're neither assassins or Templars that are working for this.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's go to the break.
All right.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and zero cooking. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So, when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite food delivered straight to you. Get Burger King, Subway, Popeyes, and hundreds more local favorites and savor every last bite. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
With the Walmart app, you can squeeze in those final days of summer and nail that back-to-school shopping list. So keep working on that tan and let Walmart Express Delivery handle the rest. Chromebooks, Clorox wipes, Sharpies, glue sticks, pens, pencils, and more. All delivered in as fast as an hour. So pour yourself another iced tea. Summer's not over. Last-minute back-to-school supplies delivered fast. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new. Subject to availability. Fees and restrictions apply.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
Malaka! Malaka! Malaka!
Even now, faced as I am with the truth of your cold words, I refuse, because I believe things can still change. I may never succeed. The assassins may struggle another 1,000 years in vain, but we will not stop.
Welcome to the break. This is the middle of the show where we talk about all the things that have to do with the day-to-day, the admin, the not lore of the Assassin's Creed lore cast. So number one, the first thing I want to do is shout out our mentor tier assassin patron, Keith R. Thank you so much for being our patron. And I also want to tell you that the best way that you can support us is to support us on Patreon. And if you support us at the Master Assassin tier or higher, which is the $20 tier, you can come on the show as one of your benefits, which is pretty exciting. And all of the patrons get to kind of pick, choose a poll and decide on what they want the topic to be for that month. So it's all chosen by the patrons, and you can be one of them. And we would love it if you became one of our patrons and joined us on the show. The second best way to support us is to leave us a rating or a review. We're trying to get to like 150 ratings on Spotify. So if you leave us a 5-star rating and send us some words, we will read it out on the show. And today I do have a review, and this one is from Apple Podcasts. So you can leave us a review on Apple as well, even if you don't listen over there. And this review comes from Cash Collins, also known as Kolkashins in the Discord. And he says, Shelby and Austin are amazing, 5 stars. I listen to every podcast the Cups host. And let me tell y'all, I was so excited to start listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. I honestly kind of fell off of playing the AC games, but I started listening to the ACL because the Cups are fantastic. And they inspired me to give the games another try. Austin is so informative and well versed in the lore, and I appreciate Shelby so much as someone getting more invested in these games because I'm approaching it from a similar position. Seriously, you won't regret giving this podcast a listen. And you should also join their Discord, which is equally great. Thank you so much, Cash, for your awesome review. And just to reiterate what Cash said, you should definitely come join our Discord. It's seriously my favorite place on the internet. And that's our personal Discord, which is the Cups Podcasting and More server. It's the official home of all of our shows, and it's a great place to hang out. On the other hand, you can also join the Robots Radio Discord if you're looking for more shows. There's literally a show or sometimes multiple shows about every video game series in existence. So if you're looking for a new podcast, definitely go check out the Robots Radio Discord server. And I think that that's all I've got to share, Austin, unless I am forgetting something.
Today's top story, the flavor merger of the century between the Peanut Butter Group and Chocolatey Corp. Joining me is a PBC executive.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Now, how did you know the merger and the byproduct of it, Jif peanut butter and chocolate flavored spread, would be a success?
You know, it was a gut feeling, a rumbling, if you will. Besides, they're two titans of taste.
Very true. Goes great with pretzels.
And pancakes.
Apples too, I bet. Try Jif PBC today.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
As a sports fan, I have to confess. Sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
And I know I was really nice to you, but actually I'm just another Templar plot twist. And yes, I would like very much for you to be controlled by a magic space wizard so that you can murder me.
I am not a father anymore. I am not a husband. I am not a Magi. I am a hidden one.
Yes. We are the hidden ones.
All right, so we're going into what we know as identified history of the Instruments of the First Will, as a group that is named the Instruments of the First Will. Now, I want to preface this. One of the great things about the comics is that they introduce a lot of protagonists and main characters that are outside of the American, European nationalities. That being said, their names are very difficult to pronounce. I have committed to trying my best. I have practiced a little bit, but if I butcher it, I apologize to those people of those nationalities. But yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing that the Instruments of the First Will really appear in is the hunt for the Shroud of Eden, which this takes place mainly in the game for Assassin's Creed Syndicate, though there are some comic stories that follow it as well. So Master Templar Alvaro Grammatica sought to acquire the Shroud of Eden in 2015. Otto Berg and Violet DaCosta who are Templars, end up acquiring it in Buckingham Palace's vault. So similar to the vault that is under the Vatican, there is a vault under Buckingham Palace in England, which I think is really interesting that the Templars have been sitting on this vault forever because they've held England forever.
But is the current royal family, like, I guess not current anymore, but was Queen Elizabeth and her father, were they Templars? Are they like down with the Templar goals?
I have to look that up, but I'm not quite sure about. I believe Henry VIII definitely is a Templar.
Well, I mean, that tracks, but that was also quite a few hundred years ago.
Oh, right. Well, I thought you meant Queen Elizabeth I, not Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about the modern timeline in this.
No, so this
2015.
Right. So the Buckingham Palace we discover in Victorian England in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And when they discover that, DaCosta and Otto Berg go in the modern day timeline. So I guess I don't know if Elizabeth II or George VI were Templars or not. I can't remember.
And what about Queen Victoria?
Queen Victoria is a friend of the Assassins.
That's right. We've talked about that.
So which, I think that her and Prince Albert probably would have gelled well with the Assassins anyway. But, so, this is the kicker. After they acquire the Shroud, after a fight with Rebecca Crane, Sean Hastings, and another assassin, they bring it back to Grammaticea at his lab, and they hand it to that. And Violet DaCosta turns to inform Juno that Abstergo now has the Shroud, revealing her to be one of the instruments. And she says that Abstergo has the Shroud, and Juno basically says, good, now I'll have a body. And DaCosta's like, I'm concerned what this will do. And Juno's basically like, trust me, I'm going to save the world, whatever.
Spoiler alert, she's not saving the world.
Well, in her mind.
Not for any of us.
Yeah. So after this, there comes some tension between the instruments of the First Will and the Assassin's Order, because at this point, the instruments bring about and basically co-opt the Project Phoenix project, which is Abstergo's project to recreate an Isu that they think they can control. And so they co-opt that. Well, the Assassins 100% are like, Project Phoenix, destroy it, burn it with fire, send it to hell and back, which tracks for the Assassin. And so the instruments and the Assassins begin to fight against that. So in 2017, Josip Dami, who defected from the Assassins to the instruments of the First Will, and he's disillusioned by the methods of both groups. He even says to Bishop, who's another leader of the Assassin cells, that he doesn't like that she's using initiates, which are like everyday people that the Assassins contact, to further their goals. And so he defects and joins the instruments. He ambushes an assassin cell in Hong Kong as they attempt to sabotage the Phoenix Project. All of the assassins die except for assassin Charlotte de la Cruz, which, note that name because she's going to come up later in the storyline. So the assassins and Dami continue to fight, and he's eventually wounded by the assassin Kiyoshi Takamura, who is a member of Layla's cell. He's not a member at this moment, but he is one later on. So he wounds Dami, and he like falls off a window cleaners, like one of those things that move up and down skyscrapers. You know what I'm talking? Is there like a name for that? I'm sure there is, but I don't remember it. So he like falls off one of those and assumed is dead. So that's really all that we get with them pursuing the assassins for now. However, the Templars have not been blind to the work of the instruments. So Otto Berg, who is like this big assassin hunter, and by assassin hunter, I mean a Templar who specializes in hunting assassins, he begins to suspect that there's a hidden cell within the Templars. Now, he believes that this cell belongs to the assassins. His search leads him to adopt this mantle of the Black Cross, which is just intimidating in and of itself. And he eventually tracks Heinrich Hart to Berlin. So after their struggle, Berg discovers that Hart is not an assassin and claims that he is her instrument. And after that, he performs a suicide bombing that ends up killing 170 people in the explosion. Otto Berg survives because if you've played the games or read the comics, Otto Berg is annoying and will not die. So he survives. And this leads to him teaming up with master assassin Michel Lemar, who they join forces to track down the instruments. And so I want to pause and take note here. This is one of the few instances where we see assassins and Templars working together to accomplish a goal. There are only two other times that I can think of right now that this has actually happened, which is Connor and Hatham and Arno and Elise de la Cruz. And I mean, the Templars in Revolutionary France, them and the Assassins have a truce, but that doesn't last very long. So we have the Templars and Assassins working together to track down the instruments. Basically, what Lemar and Berg realize is that there are resources, personnel, and finances that are bleeding from both organizations to this instrument, to the instruments. So the instruments have infiltrated both organizations and are pulling from both of them to accomplish their own goal.
So that is really significant, though, that they're both working together in this way.
Yes, especially since Otto Berg, and you'll learn this when you meet him pretty soon, he is notorious for his hate of the Assassin Brotherhood. Views them as the scourge of the earth.
I want to ask why, but I'm sure we'll get there either in the show or in my playthrough, so I will refrain.
He deserves his own kind of deep dive, so we'll definitely get into him by himself. So during their investigation, they end up being ambushed by the instruments. In this fight, Berg knocks out Lemar and kills 5 of the instruments who are attacking him with his bare hands before falling unconscious. And so after this, Demai, who has miraculously survived his fall and his wounds from Kiyoshi, told Berg, basically apprehends Berg and tells him to stop his investigation or he would kill Berg's daughter. He then throws Otto Berg off a guardrail. And before you ask, no, he does not die.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't really make much sense for the person to say, oh, stop your investigation or I'll kill your daughter, and then kill the person.
Right.
That logically doesn't add up.
So the last little thing is that a hacker who is a member of a group of hackers that's secretly trying to stop Abstergo. They are outside of the Assassins, but they're working against Abstergo Industry. Attempts to kill Charlotte de la Cruz. They are stopped by Galiana Vorina, who interrogates them and learns that they're an instrument of the first will, but he gives up nothing before he ends up dying. And then that's the trail for the Assassins kind of goes cold there. So we're going to back into the instruments headquarters where Dumai and DaCosta, Violet DaCosta, argue over Dumai's treatment of Otto Berg. Now, Violet DaCosta is Otto Berg's partner in the Templar Order. She follows him everywhere. She works with him. They're close friends. She knows a lot about him. She's very upset about how he is treated and basically says that Berg would be a potential ally that they need to recruit into the instruments. Dumai states that DaCosta does not have the right to decide who can join the instruments, and that right only belongs to Juno. And he does this big speech where he says, only Juno decides those of us who will see Eden.
I mean, that makes sense if they're an Isu supremacy group, that want humans to be subservient.
Right.
Of course, humans wouldn't get to decide who joins this group.
Exactly.
But also, of course, she would want Otto Berg to join the group because he's such a renowned Templar and assassin hunter.
Right. So Juno then appears to them from the gray or wherever she is and claims she needs the Koh-i-Nor from De La Cruz. And she also tells them that they need to use Elijah, Desmond's son, to track down the lab where the Project Phoenix is close to finishing an Isu body. So this is the introduction we get to Elijah, who is Desmond's son, and an Isu sage. So basically, this is where we get to where we talked about last week, kind of that Juno resurrection day that was happening. And so Elijah and the instruments and the assassin, Charlotte de la Cruz, they're all brought to the lab where Juno's body is being created with the shroud. And they have, Elijah's basically playing them because he wants revenge for the death of his mother. And through a lot of fighting and back and forth, eventually Juno is resurrected. However, she is distracted by the conscious of Consus, who basically taunts her into that she will never succeed. And in Juno's arrogance, she's basically pontificating to him about how she's going to win and all of this stuff is going to happen. Well, while she's distracted, Charlotte de la Cruz kills the body that Juno is holding in having. Seeing this, Otto Berg activates an explosion that blows up the facility, destroying the shroud, destroying Juno's body. And that's really the last we have seen of the instruments of the First Will, other than Sean Hastings' note in Valhalla, comparing them to successors of the Order of Ancient.
So Berg and De La Cruz, they're really the ones that destroyed this group and Juno.
Yes. And Elijah Miles, or whatever last name he uses.
Yeah.
Which, as far as we know, Elijah Miles is alive. Otto Berg makes an appearance later on in the games after this. I cannot remember if Charlotte de la Cruz is alive or not either. But just real briefly, before we end, let's get into some of their beliefs, and then we'll just kind of talk about some known members too. Okay, so the Instruments are a theistic group, unlike the Assassins and Templars. So this is pretty significant, but because both the Assassins and Templars are either agnostic or straight up atheist, or the Templars are somewhat deist in a lot of ways. They believe that the Isu, primarily Juno, will bring about a new world order in which humanity will live happily under her rule. And while they seem to focus on Juno, it is believed that they want to resurrect the other Isu as well. And so I want to pause here because for being such a sneaky group and a secretive group that is so able to infiltrate two top-notch secret organizations and fly under the radar, they're not doing their research.
And they're also not being very secretive.
Right. And so particularly they're not doing their research because they would know that if they resurrected other Isu, they did not side with Juno. And they would also know that they couldn't resurrect Isu because the Shroud doesn't do that. The only reason the Shroud is working on Juno is because Juno's consciousness is still alive.
So it's not really a full resurrection.
Right. If you really think about, if you remember from our Shroud episode, despite the myth surrounding it, it does not have the power of resurrection. It can only bring back something that is close to that, not something that has crossed that threshold.
Right.
And And so while they venerate the Isu, they are after pieces of Eden, but they're only after pieces of Eden that Juno dictates for them to be after. Or that pieces they think would please Juno in some way. So they mainly focus on the shroud and the Koh-i-Nor because Juno told them to get those, but they're not concerned with the apple. They're not concerned with the sword. They're not concerned with all of these different pieces of Eden. And then lastly, they believe that in death, they will join Juno in the gray.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what this gray really is?
It's like this in-between in the interweb. Like, it's like this section of the internet that Juno's consciousness lies. So I'm not really convinced like the mechanics of how they would get there. But that's what they believe.
Interesting.
So after, just a quick question, after learning about their history and a little bit about their beliefs, do you agree even more or less with Sean Hastings' assessment?
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's yes and no. Like in some ways I do very much agree with him, but in other ways I don't, because it's like this is a group that's only concerned with one Isu specifically. They're not concerned with bringing, really. I know they have said, or that you've told us that it's believed that they want to resurrect other Isu as well, but it's not like they want to bring all of the Isu back, at least for me. Like they're primarily concerned with Juno specifically. And so to me, that makes it a little bit less of a straight line parallel from the Order of Ancients. However, at the same time, I think because the Templars have so revoked any worship of the Isu, it draws more parallels between the instruments of the First Will and the Order of Ancients.
Very much so. Very much so. I do think that this will be an interesting take because, especially if Juno is still around, because we assume that she's dead because of what happened and her going into that body, but it's Juno. She survived the Great Catastrophe. It's like Palpatine, somehow she'll return.
Right.
But it's interesting because what we know is that Basm, Loki, and Aletheia are on opposite sides than Juno.
And what about Odin?
Odin is just kind of like his own thing going on, really. And maybe we'll get a little more to his kind of story in this last chapter of Valhalla, and maybe a little more in Mirage, since Loki and Odin in this storyline are so intertwined with each other. But so it'll be interesting how Basm, being not like Juno, who has this consciousness, Basm is a sage, so it is Loki in the flesh in the modern day timeline. And his last word is that he wants to meet with William Miles to take the fight to the Templars.
That's very interesting.
Yes, so I'm very curious about what is going to happen there. And there's a lot of ending threads of Valhalla. And I talk a lot of crap about Valhalla, a lot, but I will say this, its ending really sets up something that could be very, very interesting going forward in the storyline, if you're really paying attention to the storyline that's happening there. Any other thoughts? No? All right. Well, so known members are Juno, obviously, as their leader, this is a point, like they don't have a leader because their leader is Juno. The master spy, who is a potential sage, not confirmed, but potential, Galucia Acosta and Rufus Grisvor, who are both around during the First World War. Violet DaCosta, Josip Demai, Heinrich Hart, Gurnacia Manio, and John Standish, who is also a sage. And potentially Elijah, who is also a sage. So we know of three potential sages that have been associated with this group.
Very interesting.
Right. Yeah. Definitely, as we continue on your playthroughs, we'll have to get kind of your thoughts. And you have to keep your eye out to see if you see any hidden little Easter eggs that we can't find, that we haven't found yet.
Yeah, okay, I will.
But that's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at Assassin's Creed Lorecast, or you could talk to us on Discord in the Robots Radio Discord or our personal Discord server. Both links found in this episode's descriptions. Thank you for listening, and always stay to the shadows to serve the light, Assassins.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Want to live better? We've got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.